Nickelodeon's just for
Come
kids.
on, Doug. I'm so hungover. So that lacto cooler beer with the Slimer on it was the most disgusting thing I ever drank in my life. Oh my god, it's so gross.
That sounds like milk, and milk and beer should not be together.
No, it was like it tasted like an ecto cooler. Remember from back in the day? Like it tasted like that, but carbonated.
I've seen the things, but I've never actually had one.
Oh, well, you weren't cool then.
That was a high C thing, right?
Yeah, it tasted like that, and I was like, ew.
It was a high see you next Tuesday thing, Lance.
Oh.
Lance is on my shit list today.
What did I
What
do?
happened?
It's just we have such great conversations, and then out of nowhere, and then he just is like, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to Rome, and I hate gay people."
Isn't Rome the Mecca of gay people?
No, that was straight people sleeping with each other, and it wasn't gay. So that's why you're going. You don't have to go there to mess around with a guy and not be gay.
I see what you're saying.
Doug, I haven't seen you in forever.
Oh, hey, it's
ever.
It's been a minute, but how are you guys? I woke up out of bed, I rolled up out of bed, and saca la lengua, mierda la gato, and
hooray!
And for you Spanish people, that means waking up early. It's 7 a.m. here.
It doesn't mean taking your tongue out of the cat, but
is that what that means?
Those words were in your sentence, just not in the right in the sequence, if that's what you wanted to say.
Doug just blurts out random Spanish words and
well, wrong cat, but yeah, no, it's
oh, I don't have a cat.
Who wants to host this one?
You, because you're late. I'm just kidding. I'll do it.
Okay.
I had my notes up and then
oh my god, I'm gonna die. Somebody get this going. Because I feel like how and they didn't
you knew that you had to record this morning, so any sort of physical situation you have done to yourself, a la Last Call, a toxic love story starring Adrian Santiago,
Last Call 2, Last Call at Tanks.
Yeah, Last Call 2, the first wasn't the last. Anyways, this is Slashers. Is that a gay hating cup in your hand, Aid?
No.
Oh my goodness. As I drink my Make America Great Again 2024 cup. No, I love Chick-fil-A. I'm just kidding. This is Slashers, your favorite horror podcast about your favorite horror media. I'm your host, Mikey. I don't know why I said it like that. And today I'm joined by my co-host, colleagues, and cohorts that I sometimes tolerate. We have Adrian, we have Lance in my pants, and we have Doug, who we haven't seen in forever. Boils and ghouls, say hello to the mutant goons from beyond.
Hey, mutant goons from beyond. I'm just getting to you early because it's like 7 a.m. here. So I rolled out of my lengua bed, out of the pussy, out of the frying pan into the fryer, as Meat Chunk would say. So
I have no idea what that means. Hey guys, it's Aid.
Hola. I've been awake.
Yeah, me too. Doug brushed his teeth with the pussy willow is what he's saying. But this is our second week of our, is it back to school month? I forgot, what are we calling it?
Yeah, back to school month.
This is our second week of back to school month. If you don't like it, this is also Jason's idea, so just send him a message. That doesn't mean we're doing movies about school. That means that we're doing movies about, or we're covering shit that we used to watch after school when we were wee little lads. Some of us, that was a different decade than others, Lance. But this week, just kidding, Lance. That's what you get.
It is what it is.
I
bring in the older demographic.
oh yeah, Lance is like, oh, we used to watch Captain Kangaroo.
Bonanza.
I actually went to that fucking ranch.
Oh, okay.
There you go. See, not far off.
Yeah, I love Spawn Ranch.
I did notice that our viewership in the nursing home demographic has gone up quite high. So thank you, Lance.
You're welcome.
Well, that's what we want. We want the nursing home because if they subscribe to our Patreon, they die, and it keeps an endless loop with the credit card.
Oh my
payments.
goodness.
Yes.
Yes.
Again, you're welcome.
Speaking of Patreon, we have some fun updates coming. So stay tuned to the end of the episode to hear a little bit about those. But anywho, after school specials. Last week, y'all did Goosebumps. I was not there. I apologize to all my friends that you had to stay with Aid and Jason. But this week, we are coming to you live with Are You Afraid of the Dark? Doug, how do you say that in Spanish?
Saca la lengua tu puto culo mierda in the dark.
Perfect.
California style, folks.
Sorry, guys. Aid is very tired and, spoiler alert, not drinking. So she's a little on the wagon right now.
Well, you're drinking your coffee, right? Or is that
I have
is
coffee.
that liquor?
I have coffee. I have Chick-fil-A lemonade, and I have my water.
Wait,
Oh.
are we sure it's not Irish coffee she's got going on there?
No, because I had to get my tires new tires today, so I have.
Is that what they call it?
That's a new sex position.
Irish coffee, yeah.
Iris. Aid.
Iris.
Yeah, well, you go to the you get free coffee at the tire shop because every time I go to the tire shop and get coffee there, I'm always like,
they have free coffee there. They do. You're right.
and it tastes like tires because every time I go there and drink, I'm like, I don't remember drinking asparagus.
Gross.
What is happening right now? Mikey lost control of the room.
As always, it's okay. This is a morning episode. I don't know if we've ever done this before, so we'll see how it goes. But
this is a horrible idea.
I know
It's fine. It's just everyone has more bags under their eyes, so the video viewers will get a load of this.
Not me. I moisturize and I use retinol.
I did as well, and I put on concealer and I drew my eyebrows on. So there, you're welcome.
You know, I use the finest Desitin.
Oh my God, shut up.
Anywho, when Aid, Doug, and myself were walking home from 5th grade and Lance was graduating college, we all got home and would turn on Nickelodeon.
It's kind of true.
Just for all of you, that's more like I was watching this high late at night after I got in from nights on Nickelodeon.
That's true.
Back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Oh, so that was like mixed with LSD in that marijuana.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the 90s good shit. But last week y'all did Goosebumps, which I think when people hear about like 90s kids horror, Goosebumps is usually what they go to first. But while Goosebumps is hailed as the king of horror when it comes to king books or kids books, I venture to say that Are You Afraid of the Dark was the king of children's horror television because, controversial but brave opinion, Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes blow Goosebumps episodes out of the water.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Goosebumps was great to read because your imagination fucks you up. But the episodes, they were fun, but they weren't actually as
well. There's like 4 or 5 episodes of Goosebumps. Like the Haunted Mask is great, but if you watch the other episodes that aren't, they're just kind of there. They're like, oh man, ooh, this is cheesy, like really cheesy.
Yeah, I think that Goosebumps is more kid friendly. I want to say, and I don't know why they did that because the books were really intense and gory. And then you get the episodes and they're like, okay, they're fine. But Are You Afraid of the Dark is dark. Like,
but I mean, that's the thing though, is it feels like it's like anything that goes from book to like movie or television, you're always going to be like that lacklustering scenario because you are having your own imagination really build the storyline in your own head. Where obviously Into the Dark was like made for television. So like they're like, yeah, we're just gonna use all the things we know to our, abilities.
Fuck up, our childhoods. That's okay.
I also feel like Are You Afraid of the Dark was filmed a lot more artistically than Goosebumps, like especially just so listeners know, we'll be breaking down 3 of the episodes that we feel are notable and noteworthy. And watching these 3 last night and this morning, I was like, these shots are kind of like artsy fartsy, whereas Goosebumps was shot more just like a children's show. But I remember specifically with Goosebumps, if y'all ever read Don't Go in the Basement, The ending is the same from the show and the book, but the book is like much darker, where basically like they died and they're plants outside, and then in the show it's just kind of like hokey, like the plants are like shaking, like like talking. But anyways, spoiler alert. Um, I really liked what this little write up on Wikipedia said from Are You Afraid of the Dark? So I'm gonna read it. But the show became a weekly staple for children and tweens in the 1990s. Kids were old enough to stay up, but not old enough to stay out. So they spent nearly every Saturday night huddled around television sets with friends or siblings, pretending not to be terrified by that week's tale. But there's also a lot to admire in the care that went into trying to frighten us. We saw protagonists encountering the creepy and supernatural in the same suburban settings we hailed from. They were remarkably vulnerable and insecure kids too, ones with problems we could relate to. They were new kids, outcasts, rival siblings, and children experiencing rough patches like deaths in the family or parents filing for divorce. The show has also been seen as helping to create a generation of feminist horror fans, as it showed kids a world where girls are not to be the imperfect heroes as often as the boys did. Oh, sorry. Where girls got to be the imperfect heroes as often as the boys did. I was like, that doesn't sound right. I'm sorry. It's early in the morning.
Mikey stole the empowering moment from the girls.
Thank you, Mikey. I appreciate you.
I feel like this was a work Zoom call. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna act like I figured out what he said, but I have
In the first season alone, half the scripts focused on female characters and were written by female writers. So
cool.
When I always hear about diversity in the 90s, I think the reason why I always think 90s television shows were super diverse is because Are You Afraid of the Dark was super diverse. There's many episodes with different ethnic, characters in and out of the episodes. We were talking about a little bit of a problematic trait when it comes to the Midnight Society. It seems like frequently the ethnic children in the Midnight Society tend to have bandanas and bad attitudes. You have 4 different shades of brown on this podcast here, and none of us are wearing bandanas. Bad attitudes, yes.
Yes.
2 of us have. 2 of us have. But no bandanas. Lance, I think probably you'd be one to wear a bandana sometimes. But
I mean, I know Jason's not here, but next time he is, maybe I'll make sure I wear a bandana.
Jason's white. When he wears one, it's called a headband.
It's a sweatband.
It's functional.
Yeah. Please don't shoot me. I promise. It's not blood or crips.
Oh my god.
I had to explain it to somebody. That's a real thing in Cali. It's like,
it is.
Well, Bloods and Crips, of course.
Take you down to Compton or El Monte and knock you over there with a 2x4. You'll see the Bloods.
That's why a lot of blue. Yeah, I was gonna say that's why a lot of the schools here in Texas only let you wear uniforms, and it's just a t-shirt uniform. They don't care what kind of pants you wear, but they don't let you wear your own shirts because in the 90s there was a gang of like Mickey Mouse people, so like they outlawed Mickey Mouse shirts in our schools, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah, we'll fuck you up, SA. We're the Mickey Mouse gang.
Pretty much. But speaking of the 90s, what was our relationship like with these episodes? Starting with Adrian, what do you remember? Give it to us raw.
Well, okay, so obviously I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark, and I think the most notable thing and the most memorable thing for me, and I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, is the intro, the beginning, right? Like the little song, and you're going in the closet and it like pans on that little doll in the attic
with the fan.
Yeah, I know. It was always so scary. So, and I used to watch this with my cousins all the time. So this was like, it's very nostalgic for me. So, the Dead Man's Flow obviously being probably the scariest one. I had nightmares for like ever. And, I remember watching it alone. Like, I don't even know why I was alone, but my parents weren't home and it was dark. And I had all the lights off and I watched it. I don't know where my brother was, but I couldn't even like sleep. I had to turn all the lights on in the house and just, like I put football on because I thought that was the least scariest thing I could think of. And I just waited for my parents to get home. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? But yeah, so I don't know. These were all great. Like, I love them. And I'm glad that we picked these three because when I rewatched them, I can't remember. Like, I was remembering as I was watching them, like, oh my God, this is, yeah. Anyways, go to somebody else because I'm done.
I will decide when we go to somebody else. So continue. I'm just kidding. Lance, go ahead.
I can't do it.
Mikey's like, you seem like you're struggling. Continue.
Yeah. Let's have you add more to that. I'm just kidding.
I mean, as we enunciated and spoke out so loudly, the age difference for me was grand and vast.
Like an open ocean.
Yeah. Whoo. No. I guess it's kind of cool because it was like one of those things where it was like it upgraded from Goosebumps kind of vibe. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, Goosebumps always seemed a little bit more kiddie to me, but this one was like, all right, cool. This is a little bit more on the edge of being, closer to a more grown up type version of it, like of Goosebumps. And just, I was always saddened that something didn't actually horribly happen because it leads you down this direction. You're like, oh man, someone's actually gonna get murdered, and then like they pull back, and that was my hardest issue with like all the episodes. It was like, it's like, oh yeah, there's a clown. We all know what happens with clowns get fucking evil. And then all of a sudden, like, they survive. They say sorry. I'm like, no, you don't get to say sorry and get away with it. That clown doesn't give a fuck. It kills you. I think that was my biggest issue.
So Lance wants kids to die.
Basically, that's like murder and all the things. But yeah, it was always that. Plus, again, like I was saying, I was pretty high most of the times I watched these episodes. So it just seemed more comical.
We do have a death in Dead Man's Float, but we'll talk about that when we go through that episode.
Yes.
So, Dougie, I can't wait to hear about when you went to the library and rented these VHS tapes.
No, actually, this one's different. So my brother, in fact, when we told him we were going to do Are You Afraid of the Dark? My brother, he used to be a sleepwalker. Well, he still is a sleepwalker. But back when I think he was in like 3rd or 2nd grade, and I was in 4th or something. Anyway, back in Ohio, he would sleepwalk and he would go into the neighbor's house and eat their cereal and watch their TV because they had cable. We didn't have cable. So so we were like looking for him. Like, where's your brother? I'm like, I don't know. It was like around this time in the morning. And he slept walk and went into the neighbor's house and he was watching Are You Afraid of the Dark? And they had reruns. I don't know if it was like a tape or reruns, but the first 2 episodes we did, I didn't see. I've never seen them before. This is my first time. But I did see Dead Man's Float, and I remember I walked over there. And I'm like, "Hey, Nick, let's go!" And he's just glued to the TV, and I'm watching it, and it's the Dead Man's Float episode. And I'm like, "I know this is Are You Afraid of the Dark?" But we were just sitting there intrigued, so we basically broke into the neighbor's house. And we were just sitting there watching the Dead Man's Float. We were terrified by it, and they're like, "Oh, what are you guys doing in here?" And like, "Oh, the front door was open again." Like, yeah. Oh, okay, do you guys want some cereal? Yeah, because he always used to go to the neighbor's house because they had cable. And yeah, so I remember that traumatized me because I used to be in a swim team and water polo and stuff. So, at the young age of that, seeing Dead Man's Float, and then I used to be afraid. In fact, it gave me a trauma. It made me afraid of those black T's at the bottom of the pool.
The measuring
things. I used to see that and I used to think of like, oh, the dead man, there's this bloody skeleton gonna come out and get me if I touch those things. So it was a thing. And then we showed our friends that, like, I remember there was a VHS tape that it was taped off TV and we would share our friends and we'd be like, oh, go touch it before the red bloody skeleton comes after you. So that was my experience with that. And it stuck with me. I watched it again last night. I'm like, man, this is intense for a kids TV show. Yeah. Why 7?
Think of the main dude from Stranger Things, because the monster from Dead Man's Float literally looked like that.
Oh yeah, it looks like Veruca or whatever.
Yeah,
Vecna.
Yeah.
Vecna.
I don't know about literally, but sure, it's red.
Well, in the face, it kind of did.
It was a skeleton, Lance.
Yeah,
did you watch Stranger Things?
Yes, I did.
Were you
since everybody's shitting their panties about Dead Man's Float, we'll
so.
cover that one. We'll cover that one first.
Oh my God, this is a children's episode, gentlemen.
Yeah,
right. Kids don't get high.
He means high off life.
So.
There you
I got my
go.
bear shirt on.
Thank you.
That's
your
only for heroin,
PSA.
crack, cocaine, meth.
Yeah, they took weed
fentanyl.
off that list.
Yeah,
Real
weed's not
drugs.
on. Real drugs.
Well, we'll talk about Dead Man's Float first, since everybody's kind of touched on it already. But this I think this is the episode where they bring in someone that's possibly going to like be the new Midnight Society member. I guess one of them died or something, and so they were trying. We watched them out of order, and so they were trying to replace them. They bring this really greasy guy who, like, very first thing he does is kiss the little girl. He's like, "Hey," and he like gives her a kiss on the cheek, and I'm like, he would have been canceled today. Unsolicited
I
kissing.
know.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
He was like a trauma character though. He's like, "Mwah, mwah," and he ate like a can of hot dogs or something, like the Vienna sausage.
He ate the sand that you throw in the.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
why
fire.
did he
dust.
do that?
I
Why did
don't
he?
know. He
Like,
was a
what is
dusty,
that?
musty boy.
Hungry man.
But
And the
this.
thing is, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, well, and I never caught this before, but from watching it, because I started them like from season 1, I didn't realize that none of the kids know each other outside of the Midnight Society. So like they all go to different schools. So maybe that's just like all the different personalities like show that some of them are from like the other side of the train tracks kind of thing. And like these are the ones from the impoverished communities, and then these are the ones from the
I mean,
I
it is
don't
kind
know.
of it is kind of like displayed visually like that, because you have like the pretty rich blonde girl, the
Yeah.
geeky guy with like 80s girl bangs. Like, I'm
Oh,
not here to
yeah.
gender bangs everybody, but
Yeah.
Well, I thought my hair looked bad. I'm like, at least I don't look as bad as these '90s kids in their
Yeah.
bowl cuts.
You had the Ellen DeGeneres going on from
I
back in
know.
the day, remember?
Yeah, the Ellen DeGenerate.
But I don't know. So Dead Man's Float is basically a tale about a haunted pool, and I don't know if y'all recognized or if y'all read about it, but this is one of the only ones that actually has a death of a child in it. So we open up, I guess it's supposed to be like in the 50s, I guess, because of the
Yeah.
music playing, and this girl is sneaking into the school pool with her little brother, and there's like I guess what you would think is hot lifeguard, and they start making out, and like they're like raw dog making out. I was like, okay, I see you 90s kids shows. And the little boy is in the pool, and I'm so mature because this ghost smells. And so every time they're like, do y'all smell that? I just wish there was a fart noise right afterwards. Because that's very 90s, like a 90s joke. Do you smell that? And then farting in someone's face.
Somebody screams out, "You dealt it!"
Yeah.
Oh my
But the little
God.
boy who dies in the beginning is Jay. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Jay Baruchel.
Jay Baruchel.
Yeah. So if y'all
Yeah.
don't know him, he's one of the guys who's friends with everybody who made This Is the End. He was in This Is the End. He's the voice of Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon, and he, I believe, directed and was in Random Acts of Violence, which is a horror movie from a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And it's like the typical story of a nerdy boy who meets like the swim team girl whose name is Cloris. So it's like chlorine and clitoris put together.
That's like some old HR lady's name. Cloris.
I know. And it's so funny because I was looking at these kids, and like, if you look at like this show and then you look at like the Riverdale show going on right now, it's like these kids are very different. Like whereas kids back then wanted to dress like old people with like their lesbian fashion for young women. She wears like blazers and black pants, and the guy's wearing like khakis with a belt and like tucked in
And
collared shirts.
his
and
pants
stuff.
are tucked up to his tits right here.
Yeah.
The sweater vests were the thing back then too. Yeah.
Yeah, but you look at these kids, and even though they're dressed disgustingly, their faces are fresh and young. But like, you look at kids these days, and they're dressing more casual, but their faces are like beaten to death with makeup and like
Oh, they look like
the
shit
hard
now.
life. I know
Well,
they look like they're like 25 already.
Well, I've been using that term. What's the term, Aid? Dewy. Everyone wants to look dewy.
The little
just kidding. Everyone wants to look wet.
Yeah, moist.
I love how we just went into like being old people, like let's going. Those young kids, God.
They like to
Well,
look
hey,
dewy.
they're our age now.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like the current young kids? Oh yeah,
Mm.
yeah. These young kids are something else.
They certainly are. Yes.
Yeah, I had to go pick up my daughter from school early yesterday, and there was a fifth grader in trouble in the office sitting there, and I was like, that looks like a grown man sitting there, because it was just he was like fighting with the receptionist in the front because he kept kicking the wall. She's like, stop it, you're in here for a reason. I forgot what his name was. And so I looked over at who she was talking to, and I was like, that's a big boy. Like, I don't know what's in the water these days, y'all, but
All those
Um,
steroids.
all the hormones in our food and shit. That's why. Oh, these kids
Yeah,
are
kids can't fit
humongous.
on the rides. They go splattering at Florida
Oh
amusement
my
parks.
god.
oh my God,
Doug.
Doug.
That was a weight issue, man. A weight issue.
He was 14
That was a
and over
safety
200
issue.
pounds.
They didn't make sure his harness went down. But
Yeah,
anyways,
well, I remember that video. The worker's like, "Oh, I don't know. I have to go to lunch."
No, because all right, that shouldn't have happened, but they tore it down, so it'll never happen again. Okay.
that's so terrible, Doug.
I feel
Speaking
like
of-
me and Aid are always doing this, like, sorry. Every time Florida is brought up, it's like,
Yeah.
sorry.
I apologize.
Sorry. We're very Canadian in that way. Sorry.
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 Yeah, but the sorries and Are You Afraid of the Dark are not as Canadian as the sorries and Goosebumps.
I
So-
started
Yeah.
counting them, by the way.
Oh no,
There's
they're
only-
there, but in
Yeah,
Goosebumps
yeah.
they're like sorry, but in
Sorry.
Are You Afraid of the Dark they say like sorry. So I'm like, must be different regions.
Well, I thought the most
Um,
Canadian thing in this was the cigar microwave spaghetti.
Oh my God. I have something to say about that, but Doug, you're going ahead, please.
I know.
Calm
Sorry.
down. Calm down. Doug.
Sorry.
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 So I think they pulled a page from Poltergeist because this pool was built over like dead people. I think they were saying they mentioned it in like one line of what this
Yeah, it was
thing
weird.
was.
It was just like, he's there.
We thought we took all the dead bodies out, but I guess there's one left. I guess. And so kids are being drawn into the water. It's Jaws in the pool, which is probably why I was afraid of sharks in the pool when I was a kid. Everybody thinks there's sharks in the pool when they're kids. The scary moments we see, the scariest moment to me is when they first find the pool. There's like that black cover tarp thing. And then when they
It
walk
looked like it
out,
was being humped up in the air.
yes, it did look like someone was getting pumped under there. A body rises up. And I guess maybe the stunt coordinator who did that accidentally raised his ass up before his shoulders, so it
Yeah,
looked like
it
he
was
was
like-
humping
it was-
something.
I was like, why is that happening? It's like, what the fuck?
But the concept was scary lands.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So to me, that was the scariest part. But also, like y'all mentioned, the ghost or ghoul, whatever, when he actually becomes visible, like he's grotesque for a children's show.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, it was horrifying. Like I couldn't believe that they were showing that. I remember just like staring at the TV like, oh my god.
Well,
Yeah.
see, when I was a kid, I thought this was like I was young because I watched Creepshow at the same time too, and I thought that was Nate, like the Father's Day thing. I thought that was
Oh,
this was like a sequel
yeah.
to
Oh,
that 'cause he
wow.
looked
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
I could
look
see
like
that.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, because it honestly reminds me of, I forgot what that trilogy is, Doug, but the one that I wanted to watch, the Tombs of the Screaming
Tombs of the Blind Dead. Yeah.
Tombs of the Blind Dead. It looks like the zombies in Tombs of the Blind Dead. And I wanted to watch those because those zombies are freaky and scary looking. And when I saw this, I was like, that's a Tombs of the Blind Dead zombie. So yeah, that's probably what makes this show. When you go to IMDb and you look at all the episodes, they actually highlight shows that are considered top hits for that series. This is actually, all three of these are one. I'm not sure if the Crimson Clown one is, but this one for sure is, and so is the Screaming whatever. Another noteworthy moment. There's a cunt in this episode named Greta. And apparently this bitch can hold her breath for like 30 minutes. She's a girl on the swim team, and Clorderus or whatever is trying to teach whatever his name is how to swim.
Oh, she was stealing her man. That's what was going on. That girl was pissed.
Oh.
Remember?
Yeah,
Because she was the first one that goes like, oh, you like dogs or pets or whatever it was?
No, I didn't know you like puppies, which was, I don't like, what the fuck does that mean?
Who
Who doesn't like
What a-
puppies?
It was just like, I mean, the bullying that the kids did back
Mhm.
then, and I can't remember, was this just always on TV or did this like happen in real life? I don't remember, because I wasn't really bullied like
I think
that
it was
young,
a typical trope, but I wasn't really bullied like that either. Probably because I would have kicked their ass. But
like, what a fucking pen.
the guy's terrified of swimming, and so the girl's trying to teach him how to swim, and someone's pushing up from like under the boat or whatever. No, someone drags clitoris under the water, and she
It's getting
comes up
slowly
like,
closer to clitoris. That's all I hear now.
I don't know, licorice, whatever her name is. And so that's not even a real name. Like when I saw it on IMDb, and I was like, that's obviously a typo. And then they called her it.
It's
Clarice. It's Claire. Like
Clarice.
Clarice is what you want to do. Clarice is where we're trying to get to.
They're Canadian. They don't know.
Chlorice. But so yeah. Chlorice gets dragged underwater and it scares whatever the guy's name is. And she comes out, she's like, oh my God. And then Greta comes out of the water and she's like, I thought you didn't like puppies. And I was like, where was this bitch like the whole time they've been in here talking? Like, she's obviously got like a scuba gear under there or something.
She's a ninja.
I just love that they have that little raft in the pool. I'm like, really? Like, where did you find this fucking like little camping raft?
Yeah, it takes a dinghy to the pool. I'm like, the pool's a pool. You go in the water.
And who's letting them do this unsupervised? Like that just would like
no, they snuck in
watching these. Oh, they snuck in.
Yeah, because they're like, where'd you get the keys? Because that's the one thing is like these kids, even though they're stupid, they're actually like decent actors. And so, because they're like, well, how are we getting in? She's like, I stole the keys from the coach. He's like, I hope we don't get caught. She's like, why? It's not like we're fucking. Actually, she says, we're not doing anything wrong. And I was like, okay, she's right.
She's like, let me take that off the table.
Yeah, that's how it would have been written in 2023.
I know. What's that Euphoria shit that all the kids are watching now? Oh my God.
No.
That would have ended up as a threesome. She's like, I love puppies.
Yeah. A foursome, fivesome with the janitor and the ghost. But so,
well, Euphoria, I've only seen bits and pieces of that, but I imagine they'd wear the stiletto heels and like, let's do puppy crushing videos. And it's like, ooh, yeah, and they all wax their carrot to
yeah. Oh my God, Doug.
Just putting that out there.
Doug is like, he's like, let me go the extra mile with this one, just so you know.
Just, ladies and gentlemen, Doug is with us again today.
Hey, it's 7 a.m. No, it's 8 a.m. now.
I know. Like, what are we even talking about? Okay,
so there is a showdown in the pool. Did this scene remind anybody of any movie that may have ripped this off?
Oh yeah, It Follows. We were talking about that.
That's what I thought of too. Yeah.
And when I saw It Follows, I immediately thought of this Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, and I was like, oh fuck this movie. Like that's literally what I was thinking, and because everybody loves It Follows. And
I do.
And,
I was thinking of Swim Fan.
Oh, I love Swim Fan. We're gonna do Swim Fan.
That was a girl.
Erica
Christensen, psycho girl.
Amazing. She's amazing
in
that movie.
Sure, Lance. You mean when they dissolved her with chlorine at the end of the movie?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just saying It Follows is okay. But anyways, I would prefer to watch Are You Afraid of the Dark over It Follows.
I mean, It Follows definitely took inspiration from it, but it didn't follow it to the T. So you would like that. You're an English teacher.
I am.
I know. But yeah, so showdown in the pool, they melt the zombie thing with whatever powder, and everybody lives happily ever after, yada yada yada. And then like she's like, I'm so dirty. They're like at the end, they're like cuddling in a raft, and the narrator's like, and so taught clitoris the more that there's more things to enjoy than studying or something like that. And he's like, you want to go for a swim? And she's like, of course. And she jumps out of the boat. He just stays in the boat and keeps reading. He's like, yeah, bitch, I meant you, not me.
Did you guys even notice the part where like the janitor, because he's been there since that boy's died, it was like they freed him, like he's like oh, it's finally over. I've been staying here to make sure it wouldn't kill anybody else, but now you've killed it, and I can leave now. I'm like, you've been sitting there that whole time.
Like you've been off our payroll for 10 years. What the hell?
The pool's been closed for 30 years. and he's
Like,
still
are
there.
you kidding me? Your life choice was to become a janitor to make sure this thing didn't kill anybody else, even though the pool was closed this whole time.
Oh my
So-
god.
Yeah, and the ghost is like, yeah, see, I did it. I lived rent free in your head for all these years, so I
Yeah,
win.
exactly.
Wasted your life.
So this episode was actually directed and written by DJ McHale, and I kept thinking of,
Joe McHale.
yeah, I don't know if they're related. I was gonna look at it, but I forgot.
Oh, here, I got it open right now. Let me look. No, it appears he is not related to Joe McHale. So there's that.
Okay, well then I guess there's no fun trivia about GJ McHale,
But
which
he
is
did direct Disney's Tower of Terror.
oh yeah, that was a movie. I was like, that's a ride.
I
but-
know, Mikey.
Okay,
But
good.
it's also a movie where the little girl dies at the beginning, right? That was fun.
He loves killing children at the beginning of something. So, speaking of DJ McHale and directing, the next two episodes we're going to cover are written by DJ McHale, but they're directed by Ron Oliver, who is the writer of.
I don't know.
Oh wow, I thought she made notes. Prom
I know,
Night
I
2,
didn't.
Hello Mary Lou, or whatever it's called.
Oh,
Oh,
I
okay.
love
Oh.
Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou.
Yeah.
Oh, I love, yeah. That if you have that DVD, it's rare. So, but I don't remember any. Okay, I could see that horse has got the big lengua. Like, you know what I mean? I could see how that kind of translates over to
Oh
the
yeah,
episodes.
with the cloud. Yes, that's true. Okay, continue, Mikey.
Okay, so the next episode we're going to go over is Tale of the Crimson Clown, which crimson just means red, everybody, and it's not red, it's purple. So this was directed by DJ McHale. I'm sorry, written by DJ McHale and directed by Ron Oliver. I thought this was Jonathan Brandis. It's not. It's some kid named Michael Berry, which, upon looking him up, I realized that I know who he is. Not like personally, but he was like the douche security guard in the new Night of the Dawn of the Dead, where they're in the mall.
Yeah.
So he grew up to be kind of handsome, because in this show you kind of just want to punch him in the face the whole time.
Well, he's got his nose drives me crazy. Like, why is his face like a pancake? I don't know. That kid fucking sucked. The whole time watching this, I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, he was a terrible kid.
Now we're talking about the little
brat.
brat kid, right? The little brother.
Yes,
Yeah.
the shitty haircut. Oh my god.
He was a shithead. I was like definitely like, man, that brother's way too nice to that kid. This is definitely
Well,
Canada.
he was. I was gonna say, well, no, I was gonna say, like, this is, to me anyways, this is very 90s, where it's like the older sibling just takes it, or like there's always one sibling that just takes it and the other sibling's like a complete cunt. And I was like, now they like fight each other, and like one of them would probably die, and then the other one becomes TikTok famous. But yeah,
David
so
Mabel over here.
yeah. But so they go, and it's the mom's birthday. They're looking for a present for their mom, which I guess a $50 statue of a woman is what they want to give him.
And $50 is a lot of money. I used Google calculator for like, what is that in the 1992? That's like, man, that's over $100.
Well, the kid had $80, so even that was pretty big money for the kid.
And he bought a Sega Genesis game, Big Zebo's house or something.
Yeah, did you see that? It was basically a knockoff to the first one that we watched, the other movie. It's like,
It wasn't
ironic.
a knockoff, it was an Easter egg. Lance, learn the terminology.
Yes, it was an
Easter
Easter egg.
eggs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, oh well, it was the same writer,
Yeah.
But yeah. So this one came out in April of '94, and so like the whole premise of him having $70 that he saved was so much fucking money. Like, I can't believe like he had that. And then the fact that the brother stole it and bought a video game with it. And the video game probably was like $70, right? Like, because they were expensive back then. I would have beat his fucking ass and told the mom. Like, what the hell?
But
And
then he
then
can't tell that he ruins the present.
But
which seems crazy.
This ugly fucking statue he gives her, like, that's where you know what I mean? Like, it was just insane.
Well, that shop owner was pretty weird. I was waiting for him to say, well, there's other ways to pay. Like, he looked he looked like that guy from Carrie. The one that's
I will give you that. He did look like that.
Oh yeah, the teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
His only direction, be creepy shopkeeper. The guy's like, check.
Yeah. Pedo shopkeeper. I got it.
Like
But
in
so
Silent Night. Deadly Night Part 5? Is it Part 5?
Oh yeah,
the
Joe
toy maker?
Pedo. Yeah, Joe
Pedo, the
Pedo.
toy man, Joe Pedo.
Oh my goodness. No. But yeah, so these kids, whatever, there's a clown. The little boy makes up a story to scare his little brother. That's the little clown. It's called the Crimson Clown. He's gonna get you because you were bad. And sure enough, it comes true. The clown's following the little boy home. I didn't really care for this one, to be honest. The creepy part of the whole thing for me was when the clown's hand was coming out of the TV, and
Yeah.
also the floral print couch. Those were terrifying.
So 90s.
Jason's like, decor. The decor was fucking horrible.
Pretty much. And then like they're dragging the little boy into the other room. I guess it's his tongue. I don't know. Something's red is wrapped around the little boy, and you can see the wire pulling him.
Didn't work for me was the Crimson Clown itself, because it just reminded me of like the Jack in the Box mascot. Like that's all.
Exactly
I'm like, that's
what I
not
thought,
scary.
too.
So does. I was like, I'm surprised Doug didn't make a comment about the part where the doll was like slowly popping up and down up the blanket up to the kid. Like,
Oh, well, Yahaira and I were watching. I'm like, wouldn't it be scarier if it's the shopkeeper?
Oh my god.
it was probably the shopkeeper's voice.
He's like, you got to work off that $50 somehow.
Oh my goodness.
God.
Doug.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I did think it looked like the Jack in the Box head guy whenever it was walking up towards him. I didn't really care for this one. I don't know why Jason made us review this one. I'll be sure to tell him about it later.
Okay, I'm sure you'll voice
I'll
your
write a
opinion.
strongly worded email.
I mean, I like this one. And this one I actually remember the most. Like when I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, because this one was always on TV for some reason. I don't know why. Like anytime I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because like I always
because
remember
the other
part.
clown ended up being too scary.
Yeah, because the Zebo one I was watching, I was like, oh my God. Oh, that one. And the one I always remembered was the one where the kid used to like to pretend he was dead. Remember that one? I forget. I don't even remember what season it is, but he would lay in the coffin and like do a fake funeral and stuff. And then like, I forget what happens, but like he ends up getting like a ghost comes to get him. I don't know. It's a fucked up episode. Like, why is this kid pretending he's dead?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's even a Leprechaun episode, and there's an episode I don't know if you guys remember it, but it scared me for some reason as a kid. It's a one with a camera and a gremlin. Pictures in a camera. I don't remember which one that was, but I remember it as a kid.
Yeah, there's a lot of creepy ones. The doll one, the dollhouse one is really scary too. I don't know why we didn't do that one. Okay,
Yeah,
Jason just wanted the clown ones.
He's not even here.
Well, tell him Pervy the Clown's free on B Movie TV Fridays at midnight. Tell him to tune into that.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. So our next entry is Tale of Laughing in the Dark, which I'm glad we did this one last because this is my favorite one. This one to me is probably the scariest episode of the series. It again is directed by Ron Oliver, and it stars someone named Christian Tezier as the main character, who basically gets dared to steal a clown at a little fun house's nose. And it's not a real clown, it's like an animatronic clown. He steals it and he's like, thinks he's hot shit. And then the clown starts haunting him to get his nose back. And so the first scare we get is just pleated khaki pants on children.
Yeah.
That should be illegal.
Oh, yeah. It was bad. I mean, I forgot. And Rachel Blanchard isn't in this episode.
I don't know who she is.
She's one of the Midnight Society kids.
But other
you know who Rachel Blanchard is? She's Cher Horowitz in the Clueless show.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she's in other shit too. But
okay. I was gonna say the who with the huh.
How do you not know who Rachel Blanchard is? Oh my God! Stop talking to me, all of you. Oh my God.
Anyways, everyone look up whoever Rachel Blanchard. Oh, that girl.
Sure. Yes, you will. So she's one of the Midnight Society, and isn't that the guy at the circus? Isn't that the pervy shopkeeper in the other episode, or no?
Yeah, he's in like 6 episodes. No, not in the Crimson Clown one.
Oh, okay.
The one who plays the carnival guy in this one does like a few other episodes. He's very good at that creepy role. Also, we have background story that this clown smokes cigars. That comes in later because every time he comes around, there's smoke.
He's the Bill Clinton
and-
of clowns.
Yeah, and so what I noticed actually with these episodes is that they use their biggest scare in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
It doesn't end with the biggest scare, and I think it's kind of like taper off so that kids aren't like shitting their bed and they're like getting angry with their parents. But the clown in this one is also just terrifying in itself. Like you really don't need to do much with it because the clown itself is just terrifying. It has a big grin, has big ass eyes, and the laugh that it does. But it's funny. I don't know if y'all noticed when the kid steals his nose and he's like, "Ha, I got your nose" or whatever. It's on his middle finger and he's like this.
Yeah, he's like, talk to you later,
Yeah.
fuckwad.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know if they did it on purpose, but he's like flicking the clown off the nose. But it was funny because I saw like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I bought the series on Vudu and I was alone. And this was the first one I put on. And I was like in my 20s and it scared me. Like this, because the scariest part of the whole thing is when he's home alone. And whenever he goes into the kitchen, and I think this is what scared me the most as a kid, even though as an adult, I know this wasn't it. So he pulls out like a meal that's in the oven or microwave, whatever, it's beeping and smoking.
You mean his pudding?
Well, is that what it was supposed to be?
I think it's pudding or something like that. Like he drops the pudding at one point, but like the fact that the clown had time to like make a message in the, in the fucking pudding.
No,
and
before
then
that. Even before
Before
that, when you see it's a bunch of cigars. When I was a kid, I thought it was a bunch of shit. And so like I thought that was so disgusting and so crude.
Well played, clown. Well played.
Well, and then what makes it worse is like you
movie.
said,
Trash Juice 2, The Shit Eater's Return.
what makes it worse is like kind of what you were saying is that he spills it. Now it makes sense that it was pudding because he spills it and there's brown shoe prints everywhere with the Z in the shoe. And I was like, he stepped in shit and is walking all over this kitchen. No wonder it smells. And so like that fucked me up as a kid because I thought that was so gross. But it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized, oh, it wasn't shit. It was the cigars and pudding.
God, we're gonna see my face.
Keep going, Chase.
But yeah, and then another scary part is he's in his room and a balloon gets inflated from under the door and it flies up and it says "give it back." I was like, that's very Pennywise. Well, I guess everything balloon is considered Pennywise, but
well, you have to remember, I think this was like right around the time too that the miniseries came out of
so clowns were in vogue.
King's, they had, because I think it came out in 93 and Jonathan Brandis was in that. Maybe that's what you were thinking, Mikey.
Tale of Laughing in the Dark came out in August 22nd, 1992.
Oh, so this is before Pennywise. Or Eso in Spanish.
Okay. The miniseries came out in 1990. Eso.
Yeah, so I mean it was yeah, they probably took some notes from it. But
it's an homage.
Yeah. So the little kid gives his nose back to the clown and
don't forget the cigar box where I don't know where he got that in the middle of everything.
He gives him cigars.
Yeah, where did that kid buy cigars? Was he in Orlando?
He's like, haha, gotcha.
Remember, this was the 90s and smoking was still cool back then. So
you can let your children go to the convenience store and get you cigarettes and a beer. And not have to worry
what was
it.
that? Like a whole box of Cuban cigars? Like,
that's what I'm saying. I was like,
Canada.
Wow.
Yeah. But that one is my favorite. So which one do you think is the scariest one?
Of the three?
Yeah.
The pool.
The pool one, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a toss-up with I guess because you actually physically see an actual creature for the pool one, where the first one with Zebo is kind of cool because it's like you never see him actually moving. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like cool because it's suspenseful in that way, but the other one you're like, holy shit, that's scary as fuck.
Yeah. And that one was from season 5, so like they really
up the bar.
Yes, they wanted to scare the shit out of us at that point. Clearly.
They're probably losing people. Like, all right, people are getting tired of this bullshit. We need to
Yeah.
actually make some creatures.
I know the high school kids can't get high to this. What?
I was like, man, it's never gonna come, man. Fucking all I hear is the voice.
Well, this was such a peak for me because I like being scared because I know this came on later at night, but I was a I loved Ren and Stimpy. Like that was
Yes,
still sticks with me to
love
this
Ren
day.
and Stimpy.
But it was like Ren and Stimpy, and then immediately after this, so it's like two huge tonal shifts. You know what I mean? I got a morbidly obese woman farting on like and her ass jiggling down a fire escape, and then you get
yeah, did he get
full
stuck in
size.
her ass? She sat
Yeah,
and ran
they always get stuck in people's
God.
asses.
Did
So
you guys ever watch
nasty.
You Can't Do That on Television? It's like an old ass fucking
Yeah.
Nickelodeon show, but like that was part of this the kind of as a joke is the get high and watch Nickelodeon. It was all part of the transitions. And I was like,
Well,
this is amazing.
that was back when Nickelodeon used to be good.
Well, whenever Don't Touch That Dial comes out, shameless plug, but if you guys have trauma now, you can watch Don't Touch That Dial. But we did a parody skit of that show you just said. You can't do that on TV. And there was another show called not Bonanza, but it's like these two hillbillies where they're on stage and they go like they sing a song doing that with spoons. And then basically it's just like me masturbating to like going like and it's on Don't Touch That Dial, so you can see it on Trauma now.
Nice. I might have to
I
go.
think I have it, so I'll pass it
Oh
along.
yeah, watch it.
Yeah, so I think that that wraps up the Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes.
Yeah.
We went from children's friendly television to Doug masturbating. So
Again,
yes. Was there anything extra you guys used to watch as kids that we're not covering this month that scared you? Like I think Doug, was it you who used to watch Eerie, Indiana?
No, I never watched Eerie, Indiana, but there was something, and maybe the viewers out there, if you guys know, send us a DM or something because I want to know what it is, and I can't find it anywhere. But in the 90s, Nickelodeon was part of this too, and that's why I bring it up. But in the 90s, Nickelodeon was buying like anime from the 70s, but it was like fairy tales. It was Grimm's Fairy Tales, and I remember what terrified the shit out of me. It was an anime that was redubbed for Nickelodeon for American audiences. And it was a Hansel and Gretel one. And I remember the witch in that one was so like it was probably the closest thing to the original Hansel and Gretel story I remember. But it was called Grimm's Fairy Tales, and it was an anime from the 70s that the 90s bought out and redubbed. And I thought that was the scariest shit I ever seen as a kid. It was kind of like how Speed Racer was. Remember when they redubbed it and made it very
I love Speed Racer.
Yeah, I love Speed Racer too, the mammoth car. That scared me. Yeah, but if you guys can figure it out, because I tried Googling and YouTube, it was Grimm's Fairy Tales. It was an anime that Nickelodeon picked up. And the Hansel and Gretel one with that witch terrified the shit out of me.
I used to get really scared. It wasn't a kid's show, but when I was a kid, I used to watch it. If you ever watched The Outer Limits, that used to
Yeah.
Which one was that?
It was kind of like a mixture of X-Files and like Twilight Zone.
Yeah, there was an episode of The Outer Limits I remember because we had a little TV. Sorry, I keep going back into, but you bring up all my nostalgic juices. But I remember it was like 1 a.m, and my brother and we turned on the TV, and it was The Outer Limits. And there was this one, maybe you've seen the episode. This lady sticks like safety pins in her ear, and she's like, "I'm part of him, but don't tell me." And then all of a sudden, she turns and like the one guy's eating a Siberian husky in an enclosement. And I remember it's like just a close up of him going like. And he's eating the poor dog. I'm like, this is terrifying. What the fuck is going on?
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it makes me want to look for it though.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Jason and Lance liked Eerie, Indiana, but I don't remember it at all. So,
Yeah,
I'm
Eerie,
too
Indiana was like actually killed people.
Yeah,
it only lasts 2 seasons. I can only imagine why.
Well, Doug, apparently your Grimm Fairy Tale classics are now on Amazon Prime, so you should look it up.
Those anime ones.
Yep.
Doug's like son of a bitch.
Well, because I think it was on Nickelodeon, and then I remember
As
a
a
VHS.
teacher, I know what I'm doing. Yes. They're from 1987. Yeah, and they used to play them on Nickelodeon. There's 2 seasons.
1987.
They ran from 1987 to 1988.
Okay, yeah. If you can find it, yeah. It's that scared the shit. I think that's the closest. That's the best version of Hansel and Gretel I remember seeing. I'm like, this doesn't compare to that 20-minute Hansel and Gretel episode. So.
Oh.
No, they throw the witch in the oven. This was a kid show. She's like, she's like, your bones are good enough for me. I need to get you nice and fat. And then she turns like this really like hideous witch, and they throw her in the oven. And she burns alive. So
Oh, I
you see
love
it
that.
all in the kids show. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Late night Nickelodeon, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to wrap up our second week of Back to School with the Slashers. We'll be coming back next week with something super fun. I forgot what it was. But until then, you can always find us online on Instagram at Mutant Goons from Beyond or slasherspod. You can find me on Instagram at Horror and a Half Shell, Aid at Pathologically Aid, Lance at Zombie vs. Hate, and Doug at Doug Bizarro. You can also support us monetarily on Patreon. We're going to have a new Patreon tier coming out next month. That's kind of exciting. But yeah, from anything from $1 to whatever you want to contribute, you can have different perks and all those bennies. You can buy any shirts, whatever, dental dams to coffee cans on Redbubble at redbubble.com/slasherspod. Lance, do you have anything to promote for Rushmore and Rushmore only?
No, we're still on hiatus. Our poor drummer cut his hand on a chainsaw, so he is out of commission for a hot second. Luckily, he didn't have any tissue damage or nerve damage, so we're waiting for him to get back and be better. So Tyler, love you, bud.
Tell him if it's on video, post it on Live Leak. He'll make money off that.
Yeah, no, I can send you a picture, Doug, though, so you can see his hand.
No, see, that's the thing now. It's like when I'm starting to bleed out or like I'm starting to get dizzy, I'm like, oh no, I see the Live Leak logo coming down. Help me.
Well, great. Good. Well, Tyler, we're all pulling for you. Is he hot?
He is hot.
Oh, perfect. Okay, Tyler, I'm really pulling for you.
Well, hey, Mikey, that'll help. His fingers are missing. So he's nubbins.
I'll be pulling it for him, yes. But anyways, well, thank you guys for this kid-friendly episode of Slashers Podcast, and we'll come back next week to glorify your ear holes with something else. Hopefully Aid's in a better mood, and hopefully Doug's on time. Bye!
Oh.
Bye.
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 I'll have you.
Cool story, bro.
No, stop.